Bino.
Khiêm sẩy quy lệ.
Face-Off Season 10 is brought to you by Language.
I wonder what today's show is gonna be about.
Haven't you read the script? It's about...
Do you have a hiccup?
Yeah.
Drink like 10 sips of water, maybe? I don't know where water is.
It
but...
doesn't work on me. I've tried it before, but it never worked on me before.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean...
What works for me is that when I have a hiccup, right? I just hold my breath and tuck my head down like this, and the hiccup's gonna go away.
Wow.
Yeah.
But that doesn't work for me as well.
Have you ever tried it?
I tried it before.
Oh, okay.
I guess some tips work for this person, but not for the other person. But you know what?
Probably.
I need a tip on how to be a more confident host on IELTS Face-Off.
And what is that?
I don't know. Maybe it's what we're wearing.
Talking about outfit, you know what? I might want to look a little bit more formal today. I'll go change.
Okay. I'll change too.
Wow, yesterday was exhausting, wasn't it?
I know, right? I've been cramming for that exam every night for the last week, but still, almost failed.
Almost failed too. And you know what?
What?
Thắng failed. So he has to retake the exam today. So he's not here.
Poor him.
But like, we're still waiting for Relay and Bino, right?
Oh, hi.
Why are you guys always late?
Hello. Hi.
How are you?
We were talking about Thắng, who's not here today.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
Why?
heard, yeah, he has to retake the exam.
To retake the exam?
Yeah.
Yeah, because he failed yesterday. But we all passed the exam, so I don't care.
But that means we have a missing member today.
Yeah.
Oh.
I noticed that there's an empty seat next to you.
Because today we're gonna have a new exchange student.
Oh my gosh, I haven't heard of that. Really?
Yeah, and he's my brother from another mother.
Oh my
Oh,
god.
wow.
You can see why. Please welcome our exchange student.
Oh.
Hello everyone. Hello. Hello everyone. My name is Tuần, a fifth-year student of the Academy of Journalism and Communication. But not because that I have to take the extra test like somebody, right? Because I'm having my second degree of television, and wow, I've seen all the familiar face here. Chang Nhung, you look amazing. Khiêm,
Hi.
you're gorgeous. I love your channel. And finally, my idol, Bino. Love you, bro. Yeah.
Likewise.
And he always forgets his brother. But anyway.
Oh, no. Last but not least, my brother from another mother. Thank you for the shirt. Yeah, thank you.
Have a seat.
Yeah,
Have a
thank
seat.
you. Thank you.
Now we have
Last but
5
hide the
members.
least.
Yeah. So with 5 members in our classroom right now, I think we can get the show started, right?
Yeah.
Are you guys ready? We will say it again. Welcome to
IELTS Face-Off.
Studio.
What's up guys, we're back with IELTS Face-Off to recap. In the previous episodes, there were a lot of interesting and especially useful words. I wonder what's on our list today?
Let's have a look at the glossary we've picked out from the video just for your memorization. Please pay close attention.
So can you give us 5 words related to mental health?
Consciousness, stability, safety, guidance, and last but not least, serenity, peace.
The ingredients for making bánh đa cua are nothing fancy or expensive. Only products of the countryside, such as field crabs, piper lolets, water spinach, but it is from the ingredients that come from the land, from that field through the skillful and meticulous hands of the countryside women that have become a specialty.
But remember, it's very important to eat on time and take care of your digestive system. So now that we've done that for ourselves, let's go and explore.
I want coffee.
The biggest commercial port?
The biggest commercial port.
And I cannot shake the feeling of fear whenever I think back on the test that I took during my time in high school.
After all of those things, I decided I need to make a master plan for the goals that I want to achieve.
Healthy competition actually builds character.
Like fit in with a crowd is kind of impossible, but it's the thing that everyone tries to do that, honestly. So one of the biggest achievements that I have achieved over the years is to step out of my norm, and mostly I'm working on to be a better version of myself.
And I really appreciate you sharing with us today, but I also hope that you'll always remember that you'll have the support from our IFO crew because we love you so much. And thank you once again for accompanying us through our 10th season.
We're gonna challenge you to test your knowledge on movies.
There's a star in heaven that we can reach.
You. Another you. You see you with an earring. It's another you with an earring. You ring. You ring cut hair. Get married.
Alright, so we're back in Hanoi after a very fun day in Haiphong. Listening to Theo, a sudden line popped into my head, and I suddenly had this line of thought where I interpreted optimism as wisdom.
But it's also a hard lesson to learn.
The knowledge of being different is something that you gradually come into, but there's a lot of bravery and there's a lot of courage in embracing.
Okay, you just said that save the best for last, right?
Yeah.
All right.
That's true.
But do you notice that there's still an empty seat here?
Empty seat right
Yeah,
there.
you're not the last person today.
Oh, really? Oh, God.
You're not that special.
That's hurt. That's hurt.
And please welcome our top scorer this week, Ha Mi.
Welcome, Hami. Oh my God.
8.5 in the first shot. That was amazing.
We're very curious to know more about you, so can you introduce yourself to us and then also the audience?
Well, my name is Mi. I'm a sophomore at Foreign Trade University in Hanoi, and I'm pursuing my degree in international business. I first took the IELTS test around more than 2 years ago, and I got an 8.5 in my first attempt.
Wow.
Amazing.
Respect. Respect.
So that means she got her 8.5 while she was still a high school student. Was your major English back in high school?
I did actually major in English in high school for 3 years, and I participated in the national English competition twice.
Of course.
Wow.
Now we know
no
why.
wonder.
Now we know why.
Did you get an award?
I did. It wasn't a very high one, but I did.
I mean, I didn't, so something.
I did.
Just
kidding.
Don't rub it in me. But I'm very curious because you're apparently the skill that is the most impressive on your resume is speaking. So is it something that comes natural to you, or do you practice a lot, or how do you practice speaking?
I feel like most people would focus a lot more on listening and reading skills to be able to achieve a high score, and then sometimes they forget that speaking is very important as well. So for the speaking, I tend to focus a lot on pronunciation and fluency. I try to imagine the IELTS test as a normal conversation between two human beings. And so I try to speak as naturally as possible. I avoid using any big words, complicated words. And yeah, that's it. I also try to forward that knowledge to my students because I'm also a teacher at the moment. I feel like I could help a lot of students if I know what contributes to my high score.
I need that too.
Right, guys, I know you have a lot of questions for me, but we have to save it for the audience as well. So the audience, you have any question for our beautiful Me who has an 8.5 IELTS overall, especially about speaking? Oh, I see a question over there. Please, iPhone crew, could you give her the mic?
What is the good website for learning IELTS speaking? And can you share us some tips for learning IELTS speaking? Thank you.
Good website for IELTS speaking, practicing.
Website?
Yeah, and any tips for speaking?
I actually think that I don't rely too much on tips. I only use some of it in the IELTS room. Speaking is a process. Like, you have to learn it from the start and practice a lot to be able to communicate fluently. If you only rely on tips, even in speaking or in writing, it cannot like really shows how good you are. It just shows that you're dealing with the exam itself. You're not actually like trying to say that you're a natural speaker. But I would say that in the IELTS room, we're always under a lot of pressure, especially in the first time or in the second time. Any time is so try to imagine the conversation as just two normal human beings talking about a topic, because usually the topics are not that difficult anyway. The topics are usually just the part one are usually just about like how many people are there in your family, or where is your house located, stuff like that. It's not way too complicated. Try to imagine it as two people getting to know each other, and it would be much more comfortable. And don't think of them as very tough like people and stuff. It's not that. Yeah, it's not that bad.
Okay.
Okay. You can always retake the exam though.
Yeah, right?
She asked you about a website as well.
I used to use Elsa Speak to improve my pronunciation in some words, but I only use it for words. If it's like a long sentence, then I would try to speak it myself and like record it myself, and then I hear the audio again to see if it's what I wanted.
I got a recommendation for you on a website that is good for practicing speaking. YouTube.com.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, just use it.
Of course.
Yeah.
Or Netflix.
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 And especially for the shows you like.
Yeah.
Like you love it. I think when we watch a show, like we just pick up the language naturally,
we pick up the
like
language
me
naturally.
did.
Yeah, well, you can watch IELTS Face-Off.
Yeah.
That's
too.
Okay, thank you so much for your question once again.
So that's a wrap to our beautiful and insightful conversation with our IELTS top scorer, me. Thank you so much for coming, and we wish you all the best with your career as an English teacher.
Thank you so much, guys. Bye.
Thank you so much. Welcome back, everyone. Now it's the segment you are all waiting for. Coming up next is Musketeer Face-Off. I can't wait to debate with you guys. But before that, let's take a look at the video to see who our Musketeer today is.
Đừng buông lời hứa rồi lại vờ rằng dường như anh đã quên. Đừng tìm đến em, gieo tương tư xong lại đi. Nắng xuyên qua hàng mi rối bời. Giữ tim em vài giây cuối thôi. Để em đừng ngã lưng lên một chiếc sofa. Để nghe một phút tim yên bình đến kỳ lạ. Để em được sống vô tư như một bông hoa. Giữa bầu trời kiêu sa.
Hello everyone, I'm Ngọc Linh and I'm a Musketeer of IELTS Face-Off Season 10. And I'm currently an IELTS teacher at Lango, and I've been teaching IELTS for almost a year. I hope that I can somehow inspire you guys to English in general and IELTS in particular. Thank you.
I thought we were in a singing competition. She sings very beautifully. But I bet her topic is even more interesting, I guess. So now let's welcome the real Ngọc Linh to the studio. Woo!
Hi everyone, I'm Ngọc Linh and I'm a Musketeer of IELTS Face-Off Season 10, and I'm very glad to meet you here. Okay, so are you curious about today's topic?
Very.
Yes. Right, so to give you a hint, I'm gonna show you a short video.
Okay.
Alright, so the next question is, do you prefer watching movies at home or at a cinema?
Well, in the realm of cinematographic preferences, I must assert that I harbor an inherent predilection for indulging in the celluloid wonders of the hallowed grounds of the movie theater,
and the captivativeness of the silver screen, bedecked with its state-of-the-art audiovisual apparatus and immersive environment, beckons my cinematic proclivities.
So today's topic is about tip-aholic, should or should not. That is our discussion question. A person is tip-aholic, that means they are kind of addicted to using tips. All right? So now I'm gonna give my opinion first. I think that we should not be a tip-aholic. So now if you guys agree with the idea that you should be a tip-aholic, say yes. And if you disagree, you say no.
I'm on your side.
All right. Thank you.
I'm not. Oh, hey, please come here.
All right.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. We are on the same side.
Hello.
Hi.
Okay.
Okay.
So, as an IELTS speaker, an IELTS teacher, what do you think? Like, is it a good thing to encourage students? Because I know a lot of students will ask for tips.
Well, tips, actually, it's not really a bad thing or something. You can use tips, but I think that we have to reach to a specific level so that the tips are useful. You know, because if you lack foundation knowledge, basic knowledge, you cannot use tips, and the tips would not help you to reach a higher band score. If you're like you're really good, you have a good knowledge, and then you just use some tips to like make yourself more excellent. Yeah, it is. At that point, tips are useful.
That's a good point.
Yeah, so like we should lay a solid foundation first, and then we can, you know, apply some tips to develop our full potential to like do our best in the exam.
That's right. Tips are the tools. It's not the key factor in improving your band score.
I think if you kind of rate speaking in terms of clarity, pronunciation, that's the correct criteria. But if you judge it by how much well-prepared vocabulary with more than, I don't know, 5 syllables and very convoluted sentences and a lot of fillers. I've heard this. A lot of one of my friends who studies IELTS said that there was a tip for him that is, whenever you don't know what to say, just say, in my humble opinion. I want to express like something. There's a lot of filler words that when I listen to and when I know that person is just intensively using filler words, it's kind of annoying. It sounds really weird. It doesn't sound like human to human talking. It sounds very mechanical. And that's why I said no. But how about you guys? With more experience, I think on that side, I think with more experience with IELTS.
We have like an excellent IELTS test taker here. He got an 8.5 too.
Yeah.
Hi. So if you ask, I would say I would align myself with being a tip-aholic, because I think at the end of the day, IELTS is just a test with its own set of criteria and rules. So you'll have to learn all the rules and study the criteria in order to play it correctly. I have some friends who have excellent command of English, but still they suck at taking the IELTS test because they don't study for...
It is a skill.
Yeah, they don't study for like for the questions and how to answer them. So they just got perplexed by the questions in the writing test and the speaking test. And that's why I would say you still have to study for the tactics to counter all the criteria. Like IELTS doesn't fully reflect your entire English repertoire. Like it's just a part, it's just a certificate. Like it just reflects on your performance in a certain test, not your entire, not your entire command of English. So in order to play that game, you have to study for the rule.
Wow. Is your friend Bino? I feel like he's Bino. Like he has a good command of English, but he does not study the tactics.
Yeah.
Did the IELTS test like perplex you?
I wouldn't say I am a tip-aholic, but I rely on tips a lot. And I guess you all do, but you just don't notice. You know why? Because you, him, me, and him as well, we all make TikToks, right? Yeah. And if you think about it, TikTok when it first came to Vietnam, like back in 2018, 2019, It was a platform focusing mostly on very short videos of 15 seconds, and then they increased it to 1 minute. And so, like when I make videos about English, right, I can't just fit the whole lesson into my videos, right? So I can only give tips, and that's why. And if you like my videos, if you watch my videos, or videos from other educational content creators, and they do the same things, I guess that you do rely on tips too. Yeah, just not a tip-aholic, but yeah, that's just my 2 cents.
Okay, so if you guys are Bino's fans or like Bino's viewers, you guys rely on tips.
I think we all rely on tips. Like I've heard Hami earlier, she used the tip on her speaking test, if you remember. She said that she doesn't know anything about the topic and she asked for 20 seconds to think about that. That's a tip.
That's a tip.
That's a tip. And she really mastered it. And Ngọc Linh said earlier that you really have to master a level of English so you can use the tips. So basically that you have to understand the basic before we use the tips, right? So it's necessary. Vâng, và như Ngọc Linh cũng đã vừa nói là mình phải đạt đến một level nào tiếng Anh thì mình mới có thể dùng được tips, đúng không ạ? Vậy thì suy ra là mình phải vững cái cơ bản, thì tips giống như là một cách nâng cao để mình cắt ngắn thời gian vậy. Thế thôi ạ, không còn gì khác.
Như vậy thì có vẻ là mình phải phân biệt ra một số cái gọi là good tips, tip tốt và tip không tốt, đúng không? Tại vì rõ ràng là giống như hồi nãy Linh có nói là mình cần một cái gọi là gì ta? Một cái nền tảng vững chắc nhất định để mà mình có thể nhìn cái mẹo đó một cách không máy móc. Tại vì nếu mà mình không biết thì mình sẽ áp dụng nó rất là máy móc, như hồi nãy lúc mà Uy nói là có những bạn đó rồi cứ câu nào cũng nhét cái câu đó vô, cũng nhét cái cụm đó vô, lúc nào cũng dùng những cái từ vựng mà rất là C2 rất là khó mà không chắc. Tại vì hồi nãy thực ra Hà My cũng có nói là Hà My bước vào thi và Hà My không hề cố gắng sử dụng những cái từ khó, nhưng mà bạn vẫn được 8.5. Thì có thể là nhiều người vẫn suy nghĩ là đi thi IELTS là phải nói từ khó, đi thi IELTS là phải thế này thế kia. Vậy thì thực ra cái nguồn mà mình gọi là tìm những cái mẹo nó cũng quan trọng. Ngoài cái việc đó không phải là mình, tại vì thực ra Uy thì vẫn sẽ nói không với lại cái chữ aholic.
Yeah.
Aholic tức là kiểu mình nghiện hả ta? Mình phải dựa vào nó, mình phải lúc nào cũng làm cái chuyện là xem mẹo, lúc nào cũng đi tìm những cái đường tắt hết. Trong khi đó có những thứ mà nó gọi là, bây giờ đang tìm từ tiếng Việt,
nền tảng.
Nền tảng không dùng từ là gì ta? Trí nhớ cơ, muscle memory, đúng không? Tức là mình phải làm cái việc đó 100 lần, mình phải nói cái từ đó 100 lần, mình phải liên tục mình tập luyện thì tự nhiên nó mới quen, chứ không có cái mẹo nào cứu mình ra khỏi những cái tình huống đó được. Thì đó cũng là một cái khá là...
Thực ra thì có một cái câu này các cụ có nói là chăm hay không bằng tay quen. Mọi người biết tại sao không? Vì là khi mình làm 100 lần rồi, đến lần thứ 99 và 100 ấy, người ta đã nghĩ ra cách để làm nhanh hơn rồi. Cho nên là mẹo nó là như thế. Vấn đề của mẹo nó là như vậy. Tức là mình cứ làm quá quen là mình đã hiểu rồi, quy luật của nó là đây. Và bây giờ mình cắt bớt đi một số cái và mình đánh cái quy luật đấy. Cho nên tips và mẹo nó không là cái gì cả. Nó cũng chỉ là những bài cơ bản và mình ta thuần thục nó nhiều hơn thôi mà. Đấy cũng là một dạng tips, đúng không ạ?
Nhưng mà thì đó thì anh mới thấy là nếu vậy thì nó tốt với những người đã làm 100 lần. Còn cái người chưa làm lần nào á mà tự nhiên cầm vô cái mẹo đó thì tự nhiên nó sai. Có thể đúng không? Mà sẽ áp dụng nó in a very mechanical way. Switching English and Vietnamese is also something that we need tips for because it's so hard, right? Yeah, I think the aholic is the thing that we are debating here. Should we be too reliant on tips?
Yes.
All right, guys, we've been talking back and forth. That's enough of us, right? Now, let's hear from our very wise expert, Mr. Oliver Holmes.
Woo! Woo!
We want to hear your opinions on should we be a tip-aholic or not.
Tip-aholic. It's not good to be a oholic about anything except books, I think. I would say it's a good idea to go on the internet and find out hints and tips, but don't over-rely on it. And if you have a teacher, I would check with the teacher and make sure that the tips are correct. Also, I do notice with some students, they kind of overuse tips like discourse markers, like actually. And if they repeat words like actually, then their mark could actually go down. But there are some tips out there like using some idioms and collocations. You know, there's long words that go together. And if they follow tips like that, then it's highly recommended. And also using a wide variety of grammar, talking about the past, the present, the future, using relative clauses, conditionals, and so on. to make complex sentence structures. So there are some useful tips out there.
Right, so we should channel our energy for tips with moderation.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, everything in moderation.
And tips are helpful, but just don't be an aholic.
Yeah, only be a bookaholic.
Okay, so we win. Yeah, we win.
No, it's not. Like it's a tie. Okay. Yes and no.
We are always Libras. So. Thank you so much, Ling, for being here and bringing us such an interesting debate. And next, we will be on to Voice of the Week right now. We'll be back.
Welcome back to Voice of the Week. I can't wait to see a live speaking test right here in the studio. But before that, let's reveal our Voice of the Week contestant.
Well, hello everybody. Today I'm going to talk about my precious childhood memory when I was a kid. On a clear sunny morning, my mom and I attended a birthday party organized in a restaurant in Saigon. When stepping into the place, I saw an artificial pond. Surprisingly, I could go fishing in it. I was so eager to spend all of my time fishing. Then I caught 6 tilapias in total and I begged my mom really hard to buy them. I told her, "Mommy, please take them home. They are my achievement, the result of my effort." Finally, she paid for them, which made me really happy, and I shouted, "Yeah!" After that, we came back home on a bus after the party. Suddenly, I noticed the nylon bag was nearly torn. I felt really anxious and prayed for the bag to hold up until we get home. But 1 hour later, if something bad can happen, it definitely will. The bag burst, the fish rushed out, and the smell was so horrible that other passengers felt uncomfortable and angry. They shouted, "What a disgusting smell! Who brought the fish on the bus?" At that time, my mom kept completely silent and she hid the fish in a corner of the bus. The driver didn't know who the culprit was, so he gave everyone a warning. My heart beat quickly and I thought to myself, what if they find out? What will happen after that? Will they kick us out? Fortunately, no one found out because my mom used her favorite handbag to contain all of those fish. During that moment, I extremely regretted giving my mom such trouble. After seeing how much effort she had put out and sacrificed just to protect my achievement made me feel guilty for the mess I made, but I also felt relieved because everything was over. After that, I unconsciously said, "Mom, I love you," which made her feel really emotional and she started crying with tears of joy. The memory of this journey made me appreciate my mom and her effort even more, and since that day, I promised myself to become more disciplined and never made her tired and cause her any trouble again. So that is the end of my story. Thanks you guys for listening.
I can't wait to meet him in person. Please welcome Zhao.
Hello everyone, thanks for having me here upstage today because the viewer seat is absolutely freezing, so I'm really excited to stand up here to see everyone. So, my name is Phạm Gia Huy and I'm come from Biên Hòa Cities and I'm currently studying at Trấn Biên High School and I'm just a typical quiet guy that you can find in the corner of the classroom. But right now I'm trying to break out of my old shell and gain new experience by joining this competition. And today I bring with me some gifts for you guys. Oh. It's bánh gai, it's bánh gai and the main ingredients in this delicious treat is dried rami leaves, rice flour, green beans, and they are wrapped in dried banana leaves. The procedure to create such amazing treat is really complex and time-consuming. So the maker have to wake up really early and put a lot of effort into creating them. And I'm giving it to you guys, so I hope that you all will enjoy it. And you look really muscular. I bet you $0 that you're strong enough to hold it.
Thank you.
And for you as well, I hope you could enjoy it
thank
after
you very
today.
much. Thank you. Thank you so much.
It's not a bribe.
I hope that this doesn't affect your diet.
Well, each one of them have about 300 calories. So
Wow. That's a meal. He already counted the calories for you.
Yeah. Okay, take it back. For you. First, thank you so much and welcome to IFO. He looks like my brother.
Okay, thank you for your gifts. So we also have something for you.
Thanks for your holy weapon.
You're gonna need this and give us your best shot earlier, okay?
So, are you ready for the speaking test?
Yes, I'm ready.
What about you, Mr. Oliver?
Absolutely, I'm ready.
Okay, so please have a seat over there.
Okay. Oliver, off to you. So, welcome to this very informal test. I'm going to give you a part 2 topic, and I'd like you to speak about it for 2 minutes. And before you speak, you'll have 1 minute to think about what you're going to say.
Yes.
So, the topic is, I'd like you to describe a person you wanted to be similar to when you were growing up.
Great.
T-minus 1 minute. T-minus 50 seconds. T-minus 40 seconds. T-minus 30 seconds. T-minus 20 seconds. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Okay. Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Wonderful. Okay, so can you start speaking now, please?
So I'm going to tell you about the most important person in my life who I really admire, and she's my mom. She's a really pretty person with her eyes filled with sadness. I've seen her since the day I was born, and she's always been a great source of inspiration to me. In contrast to her depressing appearance, she has a really warm heart and great inner strength. She was born into a poor family, so she had to work at a very young age. Seeing her parents and siblings struggle from starvation and poverty, she anguished, and that love for them was her source of motivation to keep putting more effort in supporting the family and studying by herself at the same time, despite not having an intelligent mind. And over her life, she's have gone through multiple setbacks, both in her career and marriage. There were many times she felt depressed and lost her will to live, but with her love for me, and her great sense of responsibility, she pushed through the dark ages of her life. The fact that she devoted all of her love into raising my brother and I, despite being a single mom, is what I'm grateful about. She's been looking after me for my whole life, either when I get sick or during stressful situations. When I joined the IELTS Face-Off speaking contest, I couldn't handle the pressure, so I couldn't sleep either. And I thought about quitting, but understand how I felt, my mom constantly gave me words of encouragement, and this provided me with the confidence I needed. Seeing me travel to Hanoi, she was really worried, but in order for me to grow and fully mature as a person, she quenched her heart and let me leave the comfort of her arm. I really want to become like her in the future because her life story made me realize the importance of family and the fact that no matter what your background is or how untalented you are, with overwhelming willpower, humans can overcome all odds and obstacles in their life and rise up despite their own incompetence. And now looking back, I've never seen her take care of herself. All of her sacrifices were for the people she loved.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Very well done. Absolutely excellent. Your fluency is fantastic and your pronunciation is very, very clear. Also, I thought it was very brave to talk about something that's quite close to your heart and a very personal topic. I'm sorry to hear that your mum's eyes are filled with sadness and in contrast to her depressed appearance, she's not really like that. Wonderful language that you used to describe her. Like when you said she went through multiple setbacks and my mum constantly gave me words of encouragement. So really, really good use of descriptive language to describe it. And I think what I really liked about the way you spoke was just your honesty, and the topic you chose was one that was very close to your heart,
yes.
Which I appreciate.
Yes, I was speaking from my heart the whole time.
I could definitely feel that, yeah.
I appreciate your feedback.
No problem. Okay, so we'll move on to some questions that are similar to the part 3 questions in the IELTS test. We've been talking about somebody who you wanted to be similar to when you were growing up, and I'd like to discuss some questions about growing up. Yes. The first question is, who has more influence on a child's development, their friends or their family?
Well, I think this tends to be depends on each individual alone, because I've seen someone who just really appreciate their family. They will listen to everything their family said, their parents and their siblings. They really love them because, I mean, they've gone through so much hardship in their life with each other. But there are also some people who just don't appreciate their family as much, and they tend to think that their friends are really closer to them because they are kind of at the same age, right? So they understand each other more biologically and like age-wise. So I think a lot of people just listen to their friends, but I said a lot, but the vast majority will just love their family and just follow their advice.
When children are growing up, should parents restrict their access to technology like mobile phones?
Well, when you said growing up, I think if that children is below the age of 6 or 7, then they should be restricted, because at that age, their eyes are still not developed enough to actually handle the blue light from these devices, or they just don't have enough responsibility and they don't know about the safety procedure. So it will be really dangerous. But if that children is that child is older than 7 years old, which is in the first class year, I think that they need to use technology in their education as well. So I think it's really important to not restrict them for using special technology.
When should a young person first start to make choices about their future career?
Well, I think this also depends on the person as well, because I've seen a lot of people just decide what they're going to do at a very young age. Some of them just want to be a driver when they are in 2nd grade. But there are also people who don't really know what they're going to do in the future, such as myself, for example. And a lot of my friends just choose what they want to become in the future based on the subject that they are good at. So yeah, I think that it's depends on the person. But I think it's more important to know what you're going to do in the future at a very young age, because you have a right path to follow without stray away from that path and make a unproductive decision.
Oh, thank you very much. That's excellent. Thank you. Absolutely brilliant answers. I'm very impressed by your fluency when you're speaking, and just want to emphasize to the audience that you didn't prepare before this exam and you didn't have a clue what questions I was going to ask you. So your confidence in answering them is really to be applauded. So very, very well done.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Oliver, and thank you, Zha Hui, for such an amazing test. Audience, that's it is for our Voice of the Week, but stay tuned for more up next.
Welcome to our brand new segment this season, Vertigo World, in which we will introduce vertical videos on social media platforms that are useful for your English learning journey.
So Thắng is absent today, so we two are gonna take his spot. Goodbye, Thắng. Anyway, if you want to practice listening, you can check IELTS Face-Off Reels. There are a lot of practice tests for you, very interesting and concise. So Khiêm Slays is gonna be the guinea pig for us today. Khiêm, I have a live listening test for you. You have to listen to this audio and then fill in the gaps immediately.
Got it.
Listen just once. Okay, are you ready?
Yep.
Okay.
We're all human, and we all just want a chance. A chance at life, a chance at an education, a chance at a future, really. And our mission is to impact as many lives as possible, but it starts with just one. Just one. As I stare out into this beautiful room, I see optimism, I see hope, I see the future. I know that each and every one of you has the opportunity to help someone else. All you need to do is help one person, expecting nothing in return. To me, that is a humanitarian. People make it seem way too hard, man. The truth is, and what the little girl watching those commercials didn't know, is that you don't have to be rich to be a humanitarian.
Wow, I think you got all the answers correct.
Yeah, thank you. It's pretty easy.
It's pretty
to be
easy
honest.
for you, right? But I think for beginner level, it's gonna be a good practice test, right? And Khiêm says you're also a creator on a lot of vertical platforms. How do you think the viewers can take advantage of those contents to study English better?
Well, I actually think vertical platforms like TikTok or Reels are very useful for those who know how to make the best out of it. Like they use them for educational purposes. But so I do create a lot of content on those platforms for my viewers. But I do think it might pose a lot of threats for our attention span. It might become detrimental for your attention span.
You might have shorter attention span, huh? Yeah. Not only him, but also a lot of other hosts of IELTS Face-Off are creators on vertical platforms, especially chị Khánh Vy. So now we're gonna watch a video of chị Khánh Vy on her TikTok.
Với những người mới bắt đầu từ số 0 thì chúng ta có thể dành 15 phút mỗi ngày để học từ 1 tới 2 ý sau đây. 9 quy tắc ngữ pháp, trong đó có bao gồm 5 thì ngữ pháp cơ bản auto ổn. Mà muốn dùng được những cái thì này, những cái cấu trúc này thì các bạn sẽ chuyển sang bước thứ 2, đó là xây dựng vốn từ. Các bạn sẽ bắt đầu với 1000 từ vựng cơ bản nhất. Bước thứ 3 chúng ta sẽ luyện nghe, nói và giao tiếp cơ bản. Khi mà luyện nghe thì chúng ta có thể lên YouTube vào trang English for You.
Chị Khánh Vy just recommended us this website, English for
English for You. It's a YouTube channel, I think.
Oh yeah, it's a YouTube channel. Have you ever known of this YouTube channel before?
I don't think so, but it was
Neither
pretty
do I.
useful. Yeah, there are videos for beginner, and I trust my sister, so it must be very useful.
We do trust our sister. Okay, let's keep watching.
Dạy với cô giáo tiếng Anh, các bạn có thể luyện nói bằng cách vào trang miễn phí nha. Talk English với English Basic Speaking.
Talkenglish.com for English Basic Speaking. Seems like our sister knows a lot of websites.
She does.
Okay.
Với một cây bút, với một quyển sổ chúng ta học như thế là ok là luôn.
Alright, I think there are a lot of interesting content on vertical platforms that our audience, our viewers can take advantage of to study English better. And Kim, do you have any final advice for our viewers if they have to like consume a lot of short content like that?
I do know of a lot of useful websites like she mentioned. Maybe Thang will talk about them later in next episode, so please stay tuned and don't miss any of our episodes, okay?
And audience, I believe that the vertical world is actually in your hands, particularly in your phone. So you can make your vertical world interesting, informative, and definitely worth it. So guys, don't forget to take advantage of the vertical world to learn not only English, but also other knowledge better.
So it's a wrap up for the show, and first time I've been into this class as an exchange student, and look at the studio, so colorful, right?
And we have also met our beautiful top scorer, Hami, who got an 8.5 on her first attempt. I'm incredibly amazed and totally speechless.
And remember guys, tips are fun and important. Use them to your advantage, but try not to be a tip-aholic.
And it's time for us to enjoy this special treat from our amazing voice of the week, Gia Huy.
This has been an amazing show. Thank you so much everyone for being here, our live audience, everyone watching at home on TV, and of course thank you IELTS Lango system, the top 1 IELTS training system that will help you achieve your target score. Until next time.